Welcome to Step Zero. I'm your host, Caitlin Henry. Today, I have Ian Fee here, author and entrepreneur who's been sober since 2017. What began as a personal commitment to stop drinking evolved into a deeper dedication of self awareness, integrity, and conscious living. Sobriety became a catalyst for Ian to show up more fully as a partner, father, and leader, grounding his ambitions in presence rather than escape. As a writer and builder, Ian is deeply interested in what it means to live well from the inside out. His work explores themes of personal responsibility, growth, and the quiet but powerful shifts that happen when we choose honesty over avoidance. Today, through personalized consulting, Ian walks alongside individuals, teams, and organizations ready to break old patterns and build something stronger. His story is a reminder that transformation doesn't require catastrophe, just willingness. My favorite word in sobriety, by the way. A willingness to stop digging, get curious, and build a life that actually feels good to live in. Ian, welcome to the show today.
Goodness, thank you so much for having me. I know it was a little bit of a challenge getting here, but I can't thank you enough for having me.
Yeah, I think our episode got pushed about a month, but I believe in God's timing. So this is where it's meant to be. I'm excited to have you here. So, Ian, let's start at the beginning. When did you have your first drink and how did it make you feel?
My first drink was at the age of 1 in Bellingham, Washington. So I don't recall the flavor, the taste, the feel, but it all started at the age of 1 for me. Parents that generation, sipping beer, rubbing whiskey on your gums. It all started there at the age of 1. And I did not think what damage that would create as a parent, myself and you, of what that would be today. I mean, technically, that's child abuse anymore.
I know. Today, everything is so PC. But the way they did it back then, my grandma was breastfeeding and she would have like sips of beer while breastfeeding. Or when she was pregnant, I'm pretty sure they still smoke cigarettes. Those
Yeah.
kinds of things were so normalized. So, okay, what was the first drink that you remember having and how did that make you feel?
It was probably um, the one I remember most because it was so impactful and emotional to me was the age of 17. I grew up very poor. It took me a long time to get one of those awesome pairs of Air Jordan shoes. And I was at a party with my older brother, and we were drinking beer, Rainier, and then we walked home, which was smart. And I threw up all over my new shoes that took me years to save. And I was so mad at myself. And I was like, I hate beer. The taste of this was horrible. I'm trying to keep up with these college kids. What am I doing? And I ruined my shoes. Yeah, that was my most memorable first 17 was like, wow, that was not a pleasant experience for me.
And what happened from there? Were you like, okay, I never want to drink again? Obviously not. Or were you trying not to drink because you didn't like it and then you couldn't help yourself? You were drinking anyway.
Well, I grew up around it, socially. Well, we'll back up a little bit. At the age of 13, I was working in a bar, pouring beers, washing dishes. My parents, I grew up in a super, super small place. You may even know where it's at, maybe not, the Salton Sea, which is 50 miles south of Palm Springs in Southern California. It's kind of the armpit of the world. Um,
No, that's New Jersey. Just kidding, listeners. Just kidding. I went to college in New York City and we used to say that all the time.
like, so I grew up with, hosting my parents' parties. I learned that, they would always have potlucks and booze was just kind of the forefront of it. And so I'd get a couple of my buddies from high school and we'd go around and we would mix drinks and make sure everybody was good and we would clean up and we knew what I could tell you what Margaret drank today, vodka ginger ale. I could tell you people's drinks today. So I was constantly around it. And I really didn't dabble a whole lot into drinking. The one experience with my brother at 17 was like, that wasn't very fun. So I really didn't hammer booze until like I moved to San Diego, went to Century Business College, lived on Mission Beach. Then it was like, oh boy, it's go time. Big Mouth Mickey's. I converted my washer fluid in your truck where or car, you pull your windshield and the stuff comes out. Well, I punched a hole in my dashboard and I cleaned it all out and I poured vodka in there. So I would go get Big Mouth, Big Gulps at 7-Eleven. And I thought I was a cool kid. I'm driving around and then, hey, James, pull the wiper fluid. We'll have some vodkas. They're like, "Oh my god, that's the coolest thing ever."
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. And while
maybe
you're
that was a
driving.
sign there was a problem, I'm not sure.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there were so many moments like that as a kid where you didn't hit rock bottom. Did you ever get a DUI?
I didn't get a DUI till I was, 30?
Yeah, so here's the thing, you're getting away with it. You're putting it in your washer fluid, you're looking cool. This is the epitome of high functioning.
Super high functioning.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, I relate so much. So, when did you first realize alcohol wasn't aligning anymore, even if all of this was looking fine on the outside?
I thought booze, Caitlin, was my superpower for years. I built my business, super social. I figured if I could get people out of their environments and get them into bars, strip clubs, casinos, whatever, that I got them on this different level. And I was just I was a pusher. If there was a level, I was the next level. If it's midnight and everybody's like kind of tired, I'm like, oh no, fireball shots, and we're gonna go get burgers and we're gonna go hop in the hot tub and probably grab some wine. I was just the fuel to the fire. So I was building this empire, and I would go have martini lunches turned into steak wine dinners to let's come back to the house and I can text 15 people and have a party going at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. Yeah, it was. I didn't think there was any problem until one failed marriage. You're the problem. I'm not the problem. Of course not. Second failed marriage was like, oh boy. And I can admit it today after numerous therapy and life coaching is like, I was the problem. Those were two amazing women. I was the problem. But at
Yeah.
the moment, I was like, I had no clue. I was in this booze fog, selfishness and all about me. And I took no accountability. It was everybody else's fault. This is your fault. You think I have a drinking problem? Look in the mirror, bro. Like it was never me. And it took me 34 years of drunken debauchery, millions of dollars, multiple lost relationships, two failed marriages, not present with my kids, to go, whoa, life is way better. So everything's been better. Everything.
Yeah, and I think that happens so often with people that drink the way you drink, and it sounds like we drank similarly. Well, everyone's drinking either the same way I am, or I had friends who were drinking more. So it was like, I'm fine. What do you mean? It's me. I'm the problem. It's
Yeah. Have you
me.
seen Jenny over here? She's got the problem.
Yeah, totally. And I was able to say that about friends. When I got sober, I had friends be like, it's you. It should be her. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just finally willing to address all the things and take accountability for my part in it. And so for you, what was happening internally at this time? Were you just saying to yourself, again, I'm not the problem, it's them? When was that moment of maybe I am the problem?
I went into a very intense rehab October 2017 where they induced vomiting with alcohol for 10 days here in Seattle.
And was that self prescribed or did you have someone pushing you in?
I was encouraged. I was approaching my second failed marriage and it was kind of like, you do this, or I was like, I got this, no problem.
And how old were
Um,
your kids at the time?
uh, just one freshman high school turning 21, one just going into college, and 8-year-old.
Yeah. I like our listener to hear that because it's never too late to get sober.
Well, if you read my book, I had my kids write stories in there, which is very heartful and tearful to hear their side of the
I
story.
have the page bookmarked because we will be reading your daughters. So take us back to this rehab. Induced vomiting. This sounds miserable.
It was miserable. So they call it aversion therapy. So, and there's nurses, and you're with doctors are there, and so imagine going into like your doctor's office, no bed you sit on, and they play with your toes. That thing would be a whole bar and a chair, a mirror, a silver bowl in front of you. And you have kids, so you know what Epicac is. Just makes you nauseous, induces vomiting. So you got to get super hydrated before you go in there. We call them the bartenders. We go in and see the bartenders. And you take this Epicac, and they're talking to you like, hey, what was your beverage of choice? And about 5, 7 minutes from me, I'm like, I'm not feeling great. And then they give you a nice warm glass of salt water. And then they pour, my first shot was vodka. And they'd be like, take the shot of vodka, swish it around in your mouth, spit it out in the silver bowl. By the time you get to your second shot, you're swishing around in your mouth, there's nothing staying in your system. And they try to get you to 18 shots. And I got to tell you, that is brutal. From everything from red wine to Coors to Bailey's to Jameson to you name it, we had it because they're like, you're going to try everything. So then you're just sitting there vomiting for it felt like an eternity, but it was a half hour, 40 minutes or so. Then they take you back to your room, no electronics, and you sit at the end of the bed with the pink bucket, and you're just getting it out of your system. And they come check on you every 10 minutes. And I remember the clock above my bed and was like, oh man, it's a half hour. I'm finally turning the corner. It's like the hangover that you're like praying to God, I'll never drink again if you just make me feel better. It was those moments. And I was like, oh, an hour and a half, I'm turning the corner. They come in, check on you, but this time they bring a 16-ounce glass of nice Epicac for you and a nice glass of salt water. And you're at it again for another hour and a half. And you are absolutely gassed after 3 hours. Then they're like, okay, you can go into the class that's going on or you see your counselor. And like, it was very, not a lot of downtime. And you're like going to a class. It depends what time your Duffy was. I'd love to do them in the morning to get them over with. I hated afternoon because you just ruined your day. So then you go try to grab a cracker, like when you're hungover, and just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm turning the corner. I feel better. The next day, you go, they sedate you. So you go into another nurse. There's a big comfy chair. They put an IV in you. Your counselor is there, a nurse is there, and then an anesthesiologist is behind you. And they get into your subconscious. And you're only sedated for maybe 7 to 10 minutes, but they ask you 26 questions, randomly out of the blue. And then when you come out of that, you're just high as you feel so euphoric. So you go settle down in your room for a half hour, and then you go spend 2 hours with your counselor and review these questions. So it'd be like, do you remember James was your first person that you just ran? I'd be like, who's James? Like, I don't even remember this. It was the crazy stuff that came out when you get sedated and be like, you know, who was an influence, just all kinds of random stuff that then they would get into your subconscious and figure out really where's this coming from. So 5 days of violently vomiting, 5 days of sedation. But on my fifth day, when I was going into that Duffy room, I threw up in the trash can, knowing what was coming. To this day, my aversion is very high. I can go to bars. I can still do all my same cool events with my clients. Every blue moon, sitting at a bar, I'll get a whiff of like a tequila or something. My mouth will water so fast. This is 8 years later. My aversion is still so high with alcohol. So yeah,
That
it was very intense. And it was, I want to do something short, 10 days. Yeah. But on that third day, back to your original question, the third day, the good Lord touched me on the shoulder. I went into rehab to save my marriage, to save my kids, to save my business, to save my friendships, all these things for all these people. And I don't know what, on the third day, I get chills talking about it. The good Lord touched me on the shoulder and said, hey, unless your shit's right, nothing's going to be right. You have to get you right to make an impact on these people. And that just kind of like, the pearly gates open. And I was like, oh my God, I do have to be right. I, I set the tone for my family. I am the example. Boy, that was my rock bottom probably was that third day in rehab of like, oh boy, it's on me.
Yeah, I love hearing that because a lot of people, their rock bottom is the second they got the DUI or the second they entered rehab. But I know you had to go through the process. I always say the only way out is through. And that's what I love about how much you share in your book.
I had lots and lots of rock bottoms. I just didn't know. I just kept stacking. Like, this can't be a rock bottom. We'll keep stacking this one here.
Totally. The whole premise of this podcast is you don't have to hit rock bottom to get sober. You just have to stop digging. And there's all
So
these
true.
crevices on the way down of I could have stopped and just started climbing out, but I was just like, no, that's not a bottom. That's not a bottom. Let me just keep seeing how far I can go. The other saying I love is the one about the elevator. You choose what floor you get off on. You don't have to go all the way to the basement.
Right.
Uh, and that's what it sounded like you did. And I love hearing about this third day. So take us back to that moment. It was the third day, and you said you were there for 10 days. So,
hmm
what happened when you left rehab, and how was your family life then?
It was in shambles. I created so much damage, and it was done before I went to rehab. It was done probably years prior. When I got out of rehab, it was Halloween, and we were going to go take our 8-year-old trick or treating. So I was excited to get home. And the second I get home, I got served papers. And that was a big pivotal point for me of like, man, I could go back to drinking, or I'm going to set the example and I'm going to get through this with a super clear head. And I get it. I created a lot of damage. Um, so that was a big moment for me, but I made it through it and we went trick or treated. And
Wow. And were you trick or treating together or
oh,
were
yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
nothing, no big deal. Here's your papers. Get out.
Yeah.
You ready to go trick or treat with Emerson? Yeah, let's go.
Well, and it's beautiful that you showed up for your daughter. You didn't make a mess of the situation with your soon to be ex-wife, and you didn't drink that night. Like, what a gift, because so many people might have taken that. And I think you wrote that in your book. I could have chose to go have a drink over this, or probably a
Right.
dozen, but I didn't. And so from there, how did it progress? How did you start showing up differently in work, in your relationships, in this kind of leadership role? Like how were you making those shifts? Because for me, it's always like one small step at a time. People think you have to do it all overnight, but how was it for you?
Yeah, I stacked a bunch of baby habits. For me, when getting sober, and I think a lot of people are this way, is I didn't realize what I was numbing. I had so much stuff from childhood trauma to understanding where it came from, the acceptance, the selfishness. I had to go through like the sober part was the easy part. It's dealing with your emotions after, which is the hardest part, which is part of the process, right?
Yeah, and were you going to therapy or did you ever try AA?
I've never done AA. I have all the respect for it. Know lots of people in it, love it. I'm glad it's there, and I know it helps millions and millions of people. I never went to one of those. I have such a good core circle. My gal, my kids, my closest four friends, which are in the book. You've seen the pictures of them. Those were my AA support. And if it wasn't for them, I would have absolutely fell off the wagon with everything that was going on in my life at that time. But I had to go sit in my dirty diaper of feelings of like, I had to go feel those feelings. I had to be like, oh, don't like that. Let's go do some shots and let's just go be the life of the party and kind of forget what's really going on inside you of your sadness and your anger and your disappointment and like all those things. When you start getting sober, the best thing I ever did was I got a life coach, NET therapy. It took me a year because I was like, what is this feeling? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, I don't want to feel this feeling, but I'm gonna sit here and why am I crying? Like, why I'm a dude, don't cry. Like to sit with that. And those are real. Those are real things you need to deal with. And that's for me was one of the toughest parts. And I could go cry with my circle. I could be emotional. I instead of just being the life of the party, be like, hey, I'm always good, right? I'm the life of the party. I'm the guy. So that was a big thing for me. And like, when we grew up, it was like, oh, you have a therapist? What's wrong with you? I think everybody should have a therapist. Everybody. Because you look at, whoever you follow, athletes, celebrities, whatever, they all have coaches. They have nutritionists, they have mind coaches, they have swing coaches. Everybody has some sort, call them a coach instead of a therapist, because then it's like that demeaning term in our generation, right? It's like, oh, what's wrong with Ian? You're seeing a therapist, huh? Uh, I recommend everybody, especially utilize you as a life coach. It's the best thing anybody could ever possibly do for yourself, let alone setting the tone for your family and your significant other or your job. Like it has been absolutely life changing for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I couldn't have done it without that support too, and I actually did go into a 12-step program, and I needed a sponsor. Now I work with a coach because I'm like, if I'm a coach, I also need to be doing the work, and that's what I see you doing. You're constantly diving in to doing the work, which makes you such a great coach. I'm constantly learning new things, and I have a couple clients right now, and it's just beautiful that what they're struggling with or what they're going through is a reflection for me of either something I've walked through that I forgot or something that I too am like, yeah, we're trudging this road together. I'm more a guide. Like I'm one step ahead of you. I am not the guru. And I love that about your leadership and your coaching as well. And I'd love to know what surprised you most about who you became after you stopped drinking.
I'm the same person. I'm the life of the party. I'm the leader of the pack.
Isn't that crazy? We thought we were using alcohol to become that person. It's like, no, it was always in there.
I thought, again, like I told you earlier, like booze was my superpower. Sobriety is my superpower. It is
Yes.
so much better. Like, I thought it was my superpower and it's just all this kryptonite holding me back of like who I really can be and the potential of what I could be, right? Like I always use this term of like, you got to forgive your younger self, believe in your current self, and create your future self. And that's what we're doing. Once you can accept, like, hey, I want to be a better person. I want to set the tone for my kids. No different than you. Like, I want to be a great mom. I want to be a great leader. I am setting the tone for my family. And my kids, and same with everybody's kids, is they catch more than we teach them. I taught my kids how to party like fucking rock stars. My boy drinks to this day, nowhere near what used to be. He can have a couple beers and manage it super well. My 28-year-old daughter, the damage that I created of her texting me on a Tuesday at 11 o'clock at the house because I have 20 people over partying like it's a nightclub with the music loud. And she's texting me, "Hey, dad, could you please turn the music down? I'm trying to study." What kind of dad was that? Is like, are you kidding me? What a ass. Like, I taught my kids that. It was like, what am I doing? But I'm trying to be like the leader of the dad. I'm like, hey, we need to make sure we do our homework, kids. Look in the mirror.
No, and I always say kids watch our actions. They don't listen to our words. They're watching what we do. And I had a dad who was very similar, high functioning alcoholic, lots of parties, taught me I always had to have a drink in my hand. Literally would say that. If we were playing like a lawn game at my cottage in upstate New York, you better have a drink in your hand or else you can't play. And it was just this ingrained thing that got into my subconscious that I couldn't do anything without alcohol. And what I love hearing you say is how the relationship was with your daughter before. And I want to get into how it was after, but what I'd like to do is he has a section of his book. It is called Wild Ride to Sobriety for those not watching on video. And we'll link it in the show notes. But he writes letters from my kids. And so, if it's okay with you, I would like to read the one from your daughter, Maddie. The second part says on page 63. I knew he drank a lot, but it was all I ever knew, so I didn't know it could be different. When he went to rehab and got sober, our relationship changed significantly. We did so much together: walks, hikes, dinner, coffee, movies, etc. Stuff we never really did together before. I am so proud of the work he put in and the way he has showed up for his family, friends, and himself. I don't think our relationship would ever be the way it is now if he kept drinking, and I am forever grateful for his strength in getting sober. So, my backstory is my dad died basically drunk. He got off alcohol the week he got on morphine to, leave us in this world, and he never got sober. He wasn't able to. And so I don't have a letter like this that I could write to my dad. Like, I've written letters that I never shared with him about how his drinking affected me. That was a therapist's recommendation. You don't have to share it, but you have to write it. And what I find so beautiful about your sobriety is the dad you get to show up as today. And so tell us a little bit about your relationship now with your daughter and your other children.
It is night and day. I had an RV when my kids, they were both very good athletes in sports and baseball and softball. And this RV for me was a mobile bar. So we would go to the kids' games and double headers, whatever. And we would always barbecue. I was always the guy. And coolers full. So in the stands, if it's a morning game, I got Baileys and coffee cups, and everybody in the stands is good. And at
I'm
lunch,
just gonna stop you right there because here it's like red Solo cups and or coffee mugs that are filled with wine at the soccer games or the baseball field. This is taking it to the next level, like by 10. You had an actual RV where you're just serving as if you're at a tailgate at an NFL
oh yeah,
game.
every game was a tailgate party. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah. Yeah, every game was that. Hot dogs, fireball shots. "Hey, come on in. Jim, get in here. Hey, bring mama. We're doing some fireball shots. Hey, here's a beer to go." And then we turned to vodka sodas. I'm making sure meanwhile, my kids are playing sports behind me. So I thought I was this great present dad. Like I'm the carnival, I was the perfect dad in my eyes of like come on, are you kidding me? I got everybody involved here. My kids are playing sports behind me. I have a whole new meaning and appreciation and definition of being present. I thought I was a present dad. Until I got sober, I didn't realize what that really, really meant to be present. And kids want your time. They don't want things. They want your time and experiences. That's it. And to be present with them, family barbecues, they work, so it's tough to get them all together. But when we are, it is present and it's fun. It's the same as what it was when I was drinking. The difference is I've lost 80 pounds. I'm way more present. I'm a way better father. I'm a way better leader. I'm a way better mentor for my kids. And to be present, to like, it was the be seen and not heard. I just remember that from my parents. Be seen and not heard when I was growing up. And I was like, that doesn't, that was never me. And you just made me think of it right now. I was like, we'll just order pizza and you guys go upstairs and watch a movie. I was pretty much telling my kids, be seen but not heard. So I'm going to bring you order pizza. You guys go upstairs while the parents come down here and party like rock stars and be super loud and get drunk and make bad decisions. It was horrible. I was a horrible, horrible father for those kids. And I'm so lucky and blessed. I get a lot of people ask me, be like, hey, did you ever go apologize to your kids? I apologize to my kids by my actions. I got super healthy. I got super fit. I got super present with them. I never said, hey, I'm really sorry for being a drunk dad. And I don't think I've had to. I think my kids have seen the transformation of their dad, of what I am from 8 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And so take us back to your work life. How was it before and then after? What did you do before and then what do you do now?
My big boy job is I'm in the finance and insurance space for automotive space, which I'm still in. I sold my company at probably the peak of my drinking in 2016. And again, it goes back to being present. It was like I had this end in game of like, I'm going to sell this company. I'm going to have all this money and nice cars, nice house, all these things, and provide nice trips for my family. And in 2016, I'll never forget it. I was in Vegas when uh, I'm with my closest circle, a couple work friends, and I look on my phone and the money transferred. And I was like, wow, it's over. I got so depressed. Like people would be like, oh my God, you'd be so excited. It was the opposite for me, man. It was, you know, crazy negative thoughts, borderline like, what's next? What am I doing? Why am I here? Questioning myself at the peak of my drinking. So I was like, I don't like these feelings. I'm just going to drink through it. And I probably drank so much in those 2 weeks of depression, which would normally be a high for people. It was like the end. It was like, it's over. And I came out of that, it was a year later that I got sober. And I still do the same thing. That's my big boy job is in the automotive finance space. I wrote the book. It's almost a year ago that it's been out to just go make an impact on people because I didn't realize the influence I had on people when I was drinking to when I'm sober that people were like, oh my God, if that guy can do it and look how healthy and fit he got. And like, oh my God, he lost 80 pounds. You're unrecognizable. It was like, I didn't realize how silently I was impacting my bigger pond of circle to where I got a lot of people now that some don't drink, some drink super less, some are getting super healthy. Same with your circle. They're looking at you going, my God, look at what she's done. And the silent impact that we have on people. And that was the reason to write a book. If somebody could go read that and I make somebody be a better dad, a better mom, a better business owner, be more present for their kids, that warms my heart. That's what it's all about for me, is just to go help
Exactly.
somebody.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I wrote my book just to help that person who felt like me the first 9 months. And I have not published mine yet, as we spoke about offline earlier. But this one is amazing. And again, we'll link it in the show notes. So, what do you do today when you find yourself going back into old avoidance patterns? What are the mindset shifts that you use that you can share with our listeners?
I have so many that I just stacked over time. Again, some people are like, I'm going to do all these things. And you just get overwhelmed. It's kind of like January just hit, right? The gyms are packed. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. And I
When
tell
in
people,
reality, just remove alcohol. I lost 2 pant sizes, so I love hearing that you lost 80 pounds. That alone, if that doesn't get you to stop drinking, I love it.
Yeah, well, because I just would drink, and then at midnight, it'd be like, "Hey, let's go have In-N-Out burgers." That's 2,000 calories in your body right before you pass out, but it was
Yeah.
so good. I got sidetracked. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I sidetracked us. So, when you feel yourself slipping back into old avoidance patterns, what do you do today?
There's so many things, and these took me over 8 years of time. Writing the book, I always thought 80-year-old ladies journaled. I journal every day today. It could be a quick little note on a notepad, it could be a paragraph, it could be 1 page, it could be 2, depends what's going on in my world, and it's all about setting the tone for my day. I am great, I am worthy, I am present. Just little words of affirmation. And then I end with gratitude, and I think gratitude sets the tone for me for my entire day. I'm grateful for my gal, I'm grateful for my kids. Um, and I have a life coach, and she's like, "Okay," I was going through my gratitude with her, and she's like, "Okay, that sounds great. Uh, hang up with me, call me back in 2 minutes, go outside, and just listen." "Okay, Angie, no problem." Because she's like, you're like, you tell me the same stuff all the time. I get it. You're grateful for all that. That's wonderful, Ian." So I go outside and I call her back, and she's like, "Well, what did you hear or feel?" I'm like, "The light breeze of the palm trees, the smell of fresh coffee, the birds chirping, like the simplest things of what we take for granted in this entire life that we live, that we're here a very short time, of all those things that are just that simple to be so present." So those moments of gratitude are huge for me. I go outside, I take some really deep breaths, I just get oxygenated, I drink water. One of my biggest things, I do not look at my phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Period. Not an option. Not an option. Because our phones are, we have to react, whether it's social media, an email, a text, whatever. Get your body right, your mind right, whatever that is for you. It could be, hey, I'm going to just go have a cup of coffee and I'm just going to think about my day and I'm going to say 2 things that I'm grateful for today, whatever that case may be. It completely changes your biological in your body. It's crazy. And I go work out and I cold plunge. I do, but I've stacked these things over time. But if that's one little thing, wake up in the morning before you even get out of bed. What are you grateful for? Is a
Yeah.
game changer. If you could just do one thing.
Yeah. I find that it's the feeling of gratitude. I can write a list and say, cup of coffee, my home, all of that. But when I feel into it and I really sit there either with the coffee or not, and in my home or not, I just feel the gratitude and there's something that shifts. And really, what you're talking about here is just coming into full presence. I love that you say you don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes. I don't think people realize how a solid morning routine and coming into presence helps your entire day. There was a quote, I can't remember if it was Gandhi or someone else, but they said, I have such a busy day today. I need to meditate for 2 hours instead of one. And I love that thought process of like the busier I am and the more gifts that I have, I need to remember to go inward and become present. And so let's go to this place of higher power. Do you have one? How do you use it in your sobriety routine or in your daily life?
I do prayers every morning, every night. It's when I wake, thanking the good Lord for my kids, their health, their well-being, where I'm at. Thanks for letting me be here today. I've done that as a kid, and I really didn't understand the meaning of it, but it has way more meaning to me today, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I do believe in a higher power for sure. I've wasted a lot in my drinking days of my hangovers of like, dear God, please make me feel better. Please let me get through this day. And like, man, what an ass for asking for that. Like today is like, what were you thinking? You were just being rude. It just has a completely different meaning and appreciation for me today.
Yeah, and the way I pray today is so different. It's no longer what can I get from you, it's how can I serve you? And my favorite quote is from A Course in Miracles, and it's where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? And when I can turn that over and say, let me get out of my ego, out of myself, how can I serve in a way that will actually then fill me back up, but also yeah, just it's the point of life, really, and I don't think we can see clearly when we're still drinking.
1000%.
Yeah, it really cuts us off from our intuition. I always say that. Like alcohol, just give yourself 7 days, give yourself 21 days. It's cutting you off from your intuition, and you can't hear it clearly if you don't remove the chemicals from your system. So let's go back to some emotional sobriety here. How do you model emotional responsibility in your home? Like you said, you grew up a certain way and you believed a certain thing about how children show up in the world. They should be seen, not heard. How did you shift that with your own children now that you're sober? And maybe your partner too.
For sure, I think everybody kinda has to learn their role, right? And it's like this old I'm sure you've seen it 100 times. There's, Thanksgiving, the butt of the hams are cut off, and next year, butt of the hams are cut off, and the mom finally asks her mom, like, "Why did we cut the butt of the hams off?" Be like, "Well, that's just what we do." And I went all the way down to great grandma and be like, "Well, because it didn't fit in the pan. That's why. It didn't fit in the pan. But we just watched what you did, and we continued that over generations of generations." That story just makes me chuckle because it's so real with what I do and everybody does with their kids. I brought so much of my experiences with drinking and partying and potlucks, and it was okay to party every night. And it's, have a drink in your hand all the time. If you're going to go play cornhole, have a drink in your hand. It was kind of like if you walked into my house, you better have a drink in your hand. And that shift today, and again, a lot, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a life coach and counseling, and it was the best investment ever. If you're not investing in yourself, you're missing out. 1000% start there. So I would be consciously aware of like, okay, I'll use the example. It's in my book. My gal, water's running. I grew up very poor. Turn the water off. So she's running water in the kitchen, super hot, and it's just running and running and running. And I was like, this fucking drives me crazy. Uh, and next day, I had my call with Angie, and I was telling her the story. She's like, "Do me a favor. When she gets home, ask her how the dishes were done when she grew up." And I asked Shelby the next day. Well, my mom and my grandma, they've always, the dishes are clean pretty much before they go in the dishwasher. And right then, I was like, "Why is this my problem? It's not my problem. Like, why am I letting this water become an issue with us?" Is like, "Can you just turn the water off?" And she respects it today, but it's like you have to talk through those things of like, what are your triggers? And I didn't realize all these triggers I had as a kid. Like I was a very good athlete in high school and college, but my parents were never there. And I didn't realize the psychological impact that that had on me from 13, 14, 15, 17, 19 of like my parents never came to my game, that I needed this affirmation of like, "Hey, you're doing good. You're a good boy. You're loved." Right. And growing up as a kid, we never talked feelings. My mom, this cute little Irish lady, passed away a couple years ago. Everything was always okay. There was nothing ever, there was no, it was never loud in our house. Everything was always okay. And when she passed, my brother and I were talking, be like, "Did mom ever ask, are you okay?" That was never asked to us. And I take that as a parent of like, I now do check ins with, "Hey, are you okay? Like, are you okay?" Because that's important to me. I don't want my kids to not feel that or not to have open communication with me. So it's just being mindful of that. And once you get sober and you sit in your dirty diaper and you get those feelings and you realize that everybody has trauma in their life. Everybody. I don't care who you are, if you're a billionaire or homeless. Everybody has some sort of childhood trauma in their life that may not be that big a deal, but it's a big deal today. And you got to identify that.
You're cutting the generational ties of just emotional instability. And your mom probably didn't do that on purpose. And I'm so sorry for your loss. But she probably didn't do that on purpose. It was how she was wired as a child. And then I think each generation tries to do better. And what I've found is that by removing alcohol, I am able to be that version of a mom that I wish I had, or I should say, a parent that I wish I had. And even today, my mom and I have a better relationship because I'm able to communicate those things with her. Hey, here's where this was lacking. Can we try to do better now? And then, like I said, I lost my dad, but at the same time, how can I not emulate those behaviors of always having a drink in my hand, checking out, and not being there for them? So I love to
And I
hear you
think if
say this.
what were some of your triggers, whether it be in your previous marriage, like there's stuff you have to learn that you might like, hey, he really irritated me here, or you did whatever triggered him that was like you didn't even know it. And it just would create this confrontation, be like, I don't know why, but this really irritates the shit out of me, and I don't like you to do that. But until you figure out what that trigger is, and you can walk through it and feel it and be like, oh my God, I like for me, the water is like, as soon as I recognized that, it was like, it's over. Like, I could care less. Let the water run. That's how you grew up. God bless you. Like, that doesn't, I kind of like released me. Once I knew what it was gone.
Yeah, I work with clients on beliefs and how you have an old limiting belief and then you come up with a new, more empowering belief. And that's exactly what people have this light switch moment of, wow, I was doing that because of something that happened before the age of 9, is usually what I
Hmm.
find. And so you really have done the work to dig deep and to realize that this is a practice. This isn't just something that you did because you got sober and you worked with a coach right away. You sound like you're still doing all of this today and you're still diving into whatever work that pops up and whatever lessons you need to learn.
I think we are all here to just be a better version of ourselves every day. And it takes work. And if you're not, yeah, it's the old saying, if you're not learning and growing, you're dying. It's no different with us mentally, let alone physically, of like, you got to keep growing. You got to put in the work.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about willingness in your book. So what does willingness look like in practice, not just as this idea of willingness?
There's, a lot of people have like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And oh, that's a lot. Just do one thing. I'll go back to the January. The gyms are packed. Everybody wants to lose 30 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever that goal is. What if you reshift your willingness and your passion to be better or healthier or fit or more mindful and go, I'm going to lose 1 pound this week and make it super real. And instead of like 30 is your big goal, that's awesome. We set 30 and we set it 90 days out or whatever time frame. And that week goes by and you lose a pound, you're super disappointed. But if you had your goal of like, I'm going to lose a half a pound or 1 pound, whatever the case may be, set super many goals and many wins along your way, your willingness just grows. Like, man, I won. Yes, I did it. Instead of like, I failed. I'm just going to go have a beer and a cheeseburger. Fuck this. Right? It's like
Yes.
set little baby goals for yourself and just stack those goals over time. There's a great book, Atomic Habits. Just stack all these baby goals. And at the end of the year, you're like, holy cow, look at me. Look how I feel. And it's like, I blew my goal out of the water because I stacked all these baby habits. Willingness and action is a lot of people that'll be like, I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. Well, go do it. Don't talk about it. Go do it. What's the reason? There's a reason that somebody is being held back. It's too hard, right? I don't want to journal. I don't journal. I don't want to do that. I am grateful. I don't need to talk about gratefulness. I don't need to say my prayers because the good Lord's let me in the pearly gates when I die anyway. Whatever your stupid excuses, have no more excuses. What can you do to be better today? Every day. I say that to myself every day. What can I do to be better today and make an impact on people? Period.
Absolutely. And you're saying just go do it. And what I teach clients is what can you do for the next 3 hours to get you towards that goal? So if it is lose 30 pounds and you want to do the 1 pound a week, great. But are you even signed up for a gym that you love? Are you a member of one and you actually hate going there and you need to go check a different one out? How about just for the next 3 hours, you're researching new gyms online? Or the next 3 hours, you're signing up for a gym? You're not actually even going. Don't even go. Just like the next indicated step of what can I do the next 3 hours? Like you're saying, like, what can I do this day to get me in alignment with that goal? And it's willingness, but it's also your intentions. It's this visualization of if I want to see myself 30 pounds lighter, what do I need to visualize? Like that end goal? Yes. But then how do I get there? Okay, the next 3 hours. What am I doing?
Yeah. Outside, go for a walk, do some research on gyms, maybe a Pilates class,
Totally.
ask a friend to go with you,
Maybe
whatever.
you're going on a walk to start the weight loss journey and you're on your phone researching the gyms. Who knows?
Who knows?
Killing two birds with one stone. Okay, well, it's been such a pleasure to have you today. I would love to end our episode with these rapid fire questions. I just ask a few you can answer in one sentence or more. They're just some fun things before we end. So, what is your favorite daily practice that keeps you grounded?
Gratitude.
Yes. I love it. I was going to say, I probably already know the answer. It's gratitude and journaling, which is so funny because I love that as a man, you're saying this wasn't something that I thought that was, looked at as manly or to do, but
For
it's
sure.
the most important tool I've used since day one of sobriety. If I didn't write down all my thoughts and feelings, I felt like I was going to explode. Or, like you said, I cried daily for the first 6 months. So I love the gratitude. And again, such a good reminder. Okay. What is something that sobriety gave you that you didn't expect?
Presence. The presence of just being present for whatever situation you're in.
Yes.
That has a whole new meaning to me.
Yeah. And it sounds like you use it in your personal life and your work life. And I know in your book, towards the end, there's a lot of those tips, tools, hacks of how to become present. So for our listener, you need to check those out. And then my last rapid fire is, what is one belief that you had to unlearn in order to grow?
That's a tough one. That's a great question. I think there's so many. I didn't believe that I could be the person I am today. I use booze to be my shield of fear, sadness, anger, depression. Yeah, that stumps me.
That makes total sense. And that's a great answer because a lot of people say, I didn't think that if I got sober, I was going to be fun. That was a belief that a lot of people had. Like, I can no longer have fun. I can't be this. Uh,
Accepted would be a good one. Accepted.
yeah, accepted. And that, sounds like you did a lot of work there to keep your close friends close. And then, we let those that are still drinking in the same way trickle to the background. It's not that I'm not friends with them anymore. I just don't rely on them the way I rely on other people in my life who are sober or healthy in different ways. Okay, so last question that I always ask, there's a trend on social media. If I could have coffee with my younger self. So if you could go and have coffee with your younger self, what is one thing that you would want him to know?
Have no fear. You can do anything if you put your mind to it and get around the right people of whatever you're trying to do and how important your circle is to get you there.
Yes. No fear, only love. Well, thank you, Ian, for your honesty and your presence today. Tell our listeners how they can find you. We'll put your links in the show notes.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Ian Fee on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's all there.
Awesome. All right. Well, just remember to my listener, you don't need to hit rock bottom to get sober. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop digging. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it a ton.